So call to order the Douglas Finance Committee, Tuesday, January 11, 2022. Present, we have Mike Hutnack, Dick Vandenberg, Gene Lovett, our finance director, is here, and via Zoom we have Carol Gogolinski, Heather Morin, and Lynn Masuli. So we have our quorum. So welcome to everybody who is watching at home. So we have a couple changes to our agenda. Our town administrator, Matt Hutnick, was Mike Wojcik, sorry, Mike. Matt Wojcik is not able to come tonight, so our executive session is going to be just rescheduled. So Gene, I don't think we need a motion for that, right? It's just information, right?
Yeah.
Our executive session will be rescheduled, and then if you look at item 6 on the agenda, update from the town administrator, that also will be rescheduled. So I don't think we need a motion for either of those. It's just kind of for information. So number 3 on the agenda is vote to authorize members to sign payroll and expense vouchers. And Gene, you want to give a little background to why that's on the agenda?
Heather, I want to, because Dix is now retired, I was going to give you a little reprieve from being called and summoned. So I wouldn't mind if you continue to be second, but if you consider Dick as the primary, if the board or the committee would consider that.
Is that okay with you, Heather?
That was
Absolutely.
my gift to you in the new year.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we need a motion then that Dick Vandenberg would become the primary delegate or representative to sign things on behalf of the FinCom, and Heather would be the second.
Or somebody else. She was the
Or
primary
somebody else.
before. It's up to the committee for sure who wants to be.
So Mike, could you make that motion?
So moved.
Seconded by?
I'll second it.
Carol second. So Mike Hutnack makes the motion, Carol Gogolinski seconds. So the idea is that I can sign things as needed, so. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So Heather, thank you for being willing to share that momentous responsibility.
Pretty easy.
Okay. Number 4 on the agenda, vote on a reserve fund transfer to the assessor's expense. Gene, you want to give us a little background to that? It's $4,750, right?
Yes. As most of you are aware, the principal assessor's last day in town, her last full-time week in town hall would have been 12/31. She is on vacation up until the end of January. We were not successful in finding a replacement for her. We hired Mayflower to fill in. They charge $8,000 a week.
How much?
$1,000.
Okay.
And that is in the reserve fund a day for on-site services. They're scheduled to be on-site 1 day a week. And then $750 a month for on-call support. I would like to do this on a month-to-month basis instead of looking for a total reserve fund for a number of months. I want to see where this goes. We are still advertised on the Assessors Association website, but a lot of these municipality positions are vacant in many communities. They're hard to fill. Mayflower has been with the town, so they know the town, but we do lose services. Like, we are starting a list of calls that have to be returned, especially because the tax bills just went out. So it is a loss of service to the residents and to the staff here, not having a full-time position. So I don't want people to think that this is a fix. This is not a fix. This is definitely what I consider something we have to do to get us through this period of time while we continue to search. And again, like I said, it's on a month-to-month basis because Beth's is voted on the salary side. Town meeting votes at wage and expense.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm a little late.
So
Bill?
Okay, Phil, gotcha.
we have to do reserve fund transfer to put money in the expense side. I can't transfer money from the salary to the expense without town meeting approval.
Right.
So
Makes sense.
this will give us the funds for the first month, and then, like I said, we'll do it month to month. And then at the spring town meeting, we would either transfer from the salary to the expense, or from, we'll make the reserve fund a little bit more whole at the Springtown meeting.
Are we getting any nibbles on those
No,
searches?
no, we're gonna have to re-advertise. We had hoped, we had advertised in October that we would have, somebody in to overlap with Beth, so they, would be able to have time to sit with her, but we just weren't successful with that.
So this 4,750, that could be a monthly thing
Correct.
until such time as we
Yeah.
resolve the vacancy, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, Beth is on the payroll through the end of January. She has agreed to assist the town. She has to stay off payroll for 2 weeks because she is retiring, and then she would be more on a per diem, per project type of thing.
Any questions, group, for Jean on this? Anything not clear? Everybody good? Phil, you good?
I feel like the pass on this one because we had a chance to hear a vast majority of it, so that's shame on me for being a little late.
So basically, because,
You can summarize it, and I'm not holding you guys up.
well, this is a monthly amount to pay for people to help out in the assessor's office until such time as we get a assessor hired again. And it's a company that comes in once a week to do some stuff that the assessors do. And this would be a monthly fee to help do that until such time as we have a full-time replacement. Does that sound right, Jean, more or less?
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Phil?
Can you say that again? I didn't get it.
Sounds like he's breaking out.
Sandy, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. So basically, Phil,
It's breaking up a little. I can hear a little.
so this is a monthly expense to help pay for assessor services until such time as we replace our assessor who retired. And it's going to be month by month until that person is hired again.
And so if you, like, the month is, say, January, what date for an amount?
Yeah, it's $4,750 on month to month,
Uh-huh.
okay?
So the vote, is that the good?
So the motion would be that we authorize a request for transfer from the reserve fund for $4,750 to help pay for that work in the assessor's office. Does that sound right, Gene, more or less? That would be the motion. And then we would revisit that every month.
Or is that back pay?
Is that going forward, or have we?
That's, the first day was this week.
This would be the first time, yeah, so it's going forward.
Yeah, this isn't back pay, it's not for an employee, it's for
Yeah.
contract help. It's an outside service.
If it was an employee, I wouldn't need a reserve fund because I would have the money in the
You get
salary.
it in the salary
Yeah.
line, right?
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on that, anybody? So would somebody be willing to make that motion?
So moved.
Lynn Mazzoli makes the motion, all right, second by
I'll second.
Mike Hutnick beat you to it, seconded by Mike. Any question on the motion? Yep, Phil?
I was just waving to up on my screen. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
We may want to do
Landry, aye.
a roll call because there's Zoom. I don't
Because
know
we're
if we have
on
to.
the Zoom, do we have to actually give our name and
Yeah.
say it?
I think so, yeah, thank you. So Carol, why don't you start, Carol, okay?
I'll start. Carol Gallinski, aye.
Lynn Mazzoli, aye. Sandy Kuiper's aye.
Bill,
Maureen,
Michael Hutnack, aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye. So it passes unanimously. Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, the next item, so Sandy and Phil, you guys came a little late, but Matt Wojcik is not here tonight. He's not feeling so great, so the executive session, as well as his report, are simply going to be rescheduled to another meeting. So, what's that, Sandy?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so if you look at the next item on the agenda, it says, discuss a schedule for departmental discussions as part of preparing the budget for the May 2 annual town meeting. So basically, which department heads would you like to come in to talk to us as part of our budget process? We usually do, highway, police, fire, et cetera, et cetera. Is there any feeling of a department that you don't think we need to have, or should we just plan on all the major departments coming before us?
I think we should see the ones we always see.
So Jean, just
We
off,
see everybody.
okay. So Jean, off the top,
COVID environment and everything else that's gone on this past year, just to see how everybody's doing.
and then can we just instruct Jean to contact them and schedule as best she can over the next 2 months? Does that work with everybody?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
I think we have to do it by, I think it requires the doesn't it?
I didn't quite catch that, Phil.
All right, so I read that the bylaw that we do to each May permit. So we can know if we are able to suspend us, right?
I didn't quite catch the last part of that. You're breaking up.
I know, huh? So much for 5G, huh?
You can type in the
So, yeah.
chat. You can type in the chat, and so
Yeah.
one of us can help you.
Well, Jean, historically, who do we have come in?
typically you have police, fire, highway, Adam, which is the facilities.
Yeah.
Matt, which handles a lot of the town
The general
departments.
government.
I'm here for,
The library, the senior, the adult
Yeah.
center.
Yes,
yeah.
BBT.
Yeah, definitely BBT.
BBT, the school system.
Yeah, we haven't in the past had conservation, zoning.
You have to invite Howard to that one.
Yeah.
Because
We've done water and sewer sometimes.
water, sewer is
And then,
doing this.
what's the other one that we've met with?
School department.
School department,
Yeah.
yeah, but the transfer station there, I can't think of the
Oh,
name of
Board
it.
of Health.
Board of Health, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're a pretty big one. And I think they'll be, they also have the nurses' budget, and I think you cursed us right before you said, why is this increasing double? That's when COVID hit. Now, I'm
Hey,
not,
wait a second, that's not fair.
I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm thinking.
You can't say that on public access, I'm gonna have my egg house tonight.
Hey, if you had that much power, that would be pretty good, but
I think I said that backwards, I'm not
So-
gonna have my egg house, I'm gonna have my house egg tonight.
Yeah. So Jean, why don't you read what you have in front of you right now for people who we have come in?
IT's, Mike. And I don't think you have that much power
Yeah, I know.
to set a pandemic, but that would be. So BBT in the Douglas Public Schools, and they typically are in March because
Right.
they need lead time to get their budget together.
Yeah.
Library, highway, board of health, police, ambulance, water, sewer, and the council, adult social center.
I think that's pretty much who we saw last time. Is that,
And public facilities.
does that list strike everybody as okay?
What about community development?
Their economic development,
Well, community development, economic development has, well, like they have the budget.
Yeah, they don't really have a,
The community development is
They have just $1,000.
mostly salaries. That's what most of their budget is. Their expense budget is not as great. But if you wanted an overview of where that stands. I mean, they do umbrella the conservation and all of the other planning boards, zoning boards.
Would you like them to come in and talk to us, Carol, and have an overview of where they stand?
If there's space in it, I think some of these other ones are more important. So if we have time, as time goes on, all right, but other than that, I think these other ones are more important. It's just, I know there's been some changes there, and I would just be curious about how things are going, that's all.
And you may be able to see, and his name is Matt as well, Matt is part of any articles that are part of this, of the town meetings as well. So you may see Matt Benoit as part of those discussions. So if you had any
Okay.
questions, you could, we're just starting to draft the warrant, gather information, but I would expect there'd be some articles that he would be sponsoring.
Does that make sense, Carol?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
And I know he's new and doing, seems like he's doing a pretty good job of trying to, so, we're going to have to push him to do other things. Can't take it away from stuff that he really needs to do.
Okay. Anybody else on who we should have before us as we get ready to work on the town budget, other than the list that Jean read?
Bill wrote, I guess we need to do all departments by bylaw.
So I think he was trying to ask if it was, part of the bylaws that we had to meet with all of them, if it was a requirement.
That's a
Part of the bylaw, that's why I said, like, I don't know what exactly, because I don't have it right in front of me. It says all the departments, like to Carol, I don't think some of the things on development, all the committees or whatever, but departments surely, right? I think kind of we've been doing it, seems like reasonable.
Yeah, I don't know, Matt, off the top of my head. I mean, Phil. I'm just looking at the bylaws right now.
You have them around here somewhere.
But as it is, we're looking at all of them anyway.
Yeah.
That's the plan that Jean has for us, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's been skipping anything or anything, so.
Yeah, it says,
Is there any, we know not to do that?
it says the Finance Committee shall meet with representatives of the various town departments, officers, boards, and committees at least 1 month prior to the annual town meeting to discuss the budgetary requirements for the ensuing fiscal year of such departments, officers, boards, and committees. Each such department, officer, board, and committee shall, 90 days prior to the next annual town meeting, furnish to the Finance Committee and to the town accountant an itemized estimate of the amounts necessary for the administration of the department. So that's what the bylaws say. So I think in general, we're meeting the spirit of those pretty well.
We also do request that all department heads attend the public hearing before you take your vote.
Yeah.
So it gives you an opportunity, so even if you haven't met with them individually, it gives you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have for the departments that you haven't met with.
Yeah. Okay, Phil, you got that? Anything else?
Yeah, no, again, I think the deep level of detail the last couple of years seems, well, meeting the hint of the law. And asking, well, you can get some kind of condensed versus, pages of things. Unless we need detail
Yeah.
or request it. This is this executive committee level thing. We able to see the non, take a look at them based, last maybe year's spend and year's proposed. You can judge where it's going, how much it's going down, and if there's big expenditure change, we can and then maybe get a lot of the whatnot, right?
Yeah, I think in general that,
How we do it?
yeah, I think that's a good point, that when they come before us, we're not going to look at every little penny, but we look for larger trends and bigger issues like that, so that's a good point. All right, anybody else for Jean or
I do.
the group? Go ahead, Jean.
And Heather, maybe you can help me with this. I spoke with Courtney a little bit today because the executive session was canceled for tonight's meeting. Is it time sensitive that you meet before January 20th? Should we try to see if people are available next Tuesday?
Oh, you're muted, Heather.
I would ask that Dick would do a poll of each one of the finance members to find out their availability, but I think, yes, that is something that we need to have somewhat prepared to go back to the finance committee.
Okay, so could you see if anybody's available for next Tuesday?
A week from tonight.
Oh, the 19th, right?
All right, so and that would be to meet with the school folk, right?
That would be in
The executive session. All right, I'll start with you. Carol, can you meet a week from tonight
January 18th.
for the executive session?
January 18th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
How about you, Heather? Can you?
I can support however I need to support.
Lynn, can you be in person or in Zoom a week from tonight?
I believe so.
How about you, Sandy?
Maybe if things are fluid right now.
Okay, and then Phil, how about you a week from tonight? Either in,
No, I couldn't hear that, it kind of cut out.
can you be available a week from tonight to continue the executive session?
You say continue the?
Not continue.
No, to start it.
Yeah,
To-
schedule.
Yeah, it would be rescheduled to
In
next,
other words, you're not in executive
No.
no,
right now, right?
right.
Cancel.
So if we started it next week,
Thank you, Heather.
could you do it next Tuesday?
Yeah, I believe I can.
How about you, Mike?
I cannot, I've got a board meeting for work
Okay, you
next
cannot.
Tuesday. Yeah.
I think I can, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 for sure.
Yes.
I don't know about Howard. And you can, and Sandy, you're yes or no at this point, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so,
Now, are we able to do executive session through Zoom?
Yes.
so that would, we have 4 that can, Carol, Heather, Lynn, Dick. Howard,
Remember, I cannot, I have to recluse myself from it
Oh.
because I'm going to be representing the school.
Oh,
Just
right,
be
okay.
Very transparent with everybody, so I cannot be part, I don't believe so, Jean. I cannot be part of the quorum for the executive session for the finance committee because I'm on school board.
Gotcha, okay.
You're on that budget committee, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
The
okay.
negotiation, yes.
So far we have 4 then, Carol, Lynn, Phil, and myself could be available next Tuesday. Is that right, Phil?
Yeah, that's what I get too.
So Sandy maybe, and Howard I don't know yet. So what's a good way to proceed then?
I would send out a request tomorrow and have them, so you at least get Howard's response.
Okay.
To see if they're available. And then if they are, then we'll need to post it.
Okay,
I will have to talk to Matt about that as well, to make sure he's okay with, holding the executive session next Tuesday. The board is meeting, the Board of Selectmen are meeting next Tuesday.
Right.
So I don't know how that's going to look. But it just gives us a little flexibility.
and if we can't do the executive session next week, is 2 weeks from now too late then?
I don't know the answer to that. That's why I asked Heather. I think it would have been best to have it before the 20th.
Yes.
So
That's all
Heather,
I'm going to say.
Heather, what happens if we cannot get enough people for the executive session a week from tonight?
What if we do it on Monday? It's,
Monday's a holiday.
Monday's holiday, yeah.
Monday's a holiday, and you have to post in advance.
oh, okay.
So, I don't know where Matt is. Like I said, I don't want to speak out. It's a very gray line for me right now. So
Yeah.
I will just refer back to Jean and go, Jean knows better than I do. What is the proper procedures? It is going to go through Matt. Matt is going to go over to the school and talk to the superintendent, Dr. Vera, and it'll go through there.
Okay.
So I think the best way to proceed at this point is to see if Howard's available. If Howard or Sandy are available, then you'll have your quorum. And like I said, I'll talk
For a week from tonight, right?
for a week from tonight.
Is that okay with everybody then?
I should make it, I'll do my best.
But I'll still send an email out to everybody tomorrow,
Yeah.
just to make it official, okay? All right, anybody else on scheduling departmental heads to come and see us as part of the budget process? Any questions on that? Comments?
The only thing I would like to add to make this budget season go a little more smoothly, I think, it's a little frustrating to me when I come to a meeting and I'm asked questions and I have to say I don't have it with me, I'll get back to you. If you know you're going to have a question, or if even for myself or the department ahead of time, if you can send that along so we are prepared for the meeting. I don't throw numbers off the top of my head. I think you guys all know that by now. Numbers stick. People don't always catch the next meeting when you hear the correction. So that doesn't help any of us. So if you have any information that you want, that you find will help with your conversation with the departments, just let us know, a couple days in advance. It is a little more challenging because of COVID. We do have staff that's out, so, we're doing the best we can in here. But if you can get that to us in advance of the meeting, that would be great.
We would email those questions to you?
Yeah. And I'm not saying you can't have a dialogue when they're here, and I understand that,
Right.
sometimes it's in conversation, something may pop up, but if there's something you definitely are interested in before the meeting, it's just helpful for us to prepare for that.
Understood.
Okay, thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the process of department heads, et cetera? Okay.
I'm typing something there.
One of the things I said a while back was economic development doesn't have much of a budget, but I was thinking of the economic development commission. We now have an economic development coordinator. That seems to be working out very well. I don't know if that might be someone you might see. Ooh, think we're all dead?
No,
I would like to see that person.
how would that fit in, I wonder?
Matt?
Catch a lot of what you said, Carol. Fantastic 5D is great.
I don't think he would have to be here very long, but he might be interested in what's going on. And, different grants he's managed to get, which is fantastic, so.
Do you think we could fit that person in, Jean?
And I think Matt's going to probably provide a lot of that information as part of his overview. We can definitely, I think he will, tell the story on some of that, but we can ask that, Bob and Eric is also here. He's your economic development coordinator.
Is that okay with everybody? I can't read what you typed, Phil. Can somebody read that for me?
I don't have my new glasses.
Heather, can you read it?
It says, how are we on getting technology updates for the actual proposed budget spreadsheet linked? I'm always thinking about 4-year look back on spending in 1 year for proposed budget.
I don't know. What's the answer to that?
That's going to be a question for Matt.
Question for Matt, okay.
Right, yeah, I just thought we've been talking about it. determine where the pain point and what we need to focus on versus spending all this extra time talking about nickels.
Yeah. And I think that came up last year too, is how to get that big picture, put it in some kind of historical context that, in graphs and things like that. So that's a good question for Matt, I think.
Yeah, just a trend analysis.
The trend kind of thing,
And
exactly.
he does have, it. I don't know if he was able to share it last year.
Yeah, I think he had it, but it wasn't, it didn't work with that updating link or something, I think is what, because he tried to send it out, I thought, if I remember right.
Because he
but it
has
didn't.
5 back and 5 forward.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were having trouble sharing that info over that new Microsoft
Yeah.
thing, right? Yeah. So noted, Phil, okay? We got it. Anybody else for Gene or for the group as we look ahead to the budget process? Okay. So the last thing on our agenda before adjournment is open session for topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours. Does anybody have a last minute thing we need to think about tonight or put on an agenda going forward?
You do have one person in attendance, I don't know.
Yeah, Edward,
Thinking of, go ahead, is someone going?
well, I'm just wondering who Edward Rondo is. His name has been up there the whole time. Edward, who are you?
If you can hear me, I'm only a taxpayer.
I didn't quite catch the last part there, Edward.
said he was a taxpayer, a resident. Thank you for joining us tonight.
So you're a resident in the town then?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for joining us, appreciate it. Yeah, okay. Anybody else have an item that needs our last,
Things that I was-
go ahead, Phil.
One of the things that you guys are talking about, OPEX, basically, this is something maybe last year, but a lot of business settings, they have performance indicators, and perhaps we could develop a small set of key performances that we would be able to kind of try out to everybody when our monthly meeting. And it wouldn't have to be 3 to 5 sets of numbers. There's things that the average citizen could kind of take hold of or in at maybe a meeting, so they could kind of see who.
I'm going to need a translator. I'm not sure what he said.
Can you type that up, Phil?
I think he was talking about key performance indicators and having some, did I get that right, Phil? You were talking key performance
Yeah.
indicators, if we had some type of like a dashboard or something that we could send out along with meeting information? Is that kind of summarizing?
That's exactly what I was looking for. Just so we can gauge, how much, bringing in, how much we spend, how the budget's going, is there that are going crazy over or whatever. And I those numbers are, I think maybe Matt and or Gene would be the plus what they think might be good thing. But it's really just the average person that's out loud or maybe watching this or even in the audience to give them a general understanding of, where we're at each month or each meeting, I guess.
Would that be hard to do?
It's not,
Well,
when you look at the budget,
and, trigger on it. Anyway, just a consideration.
some of our larger departments, like property and liability insurance or Worcester Regional Retirement, if you looked at the expenditure report as it stands today, they're 100% fully expended because we make that payment in July, so there's 0 remaining. Whereas if you look at the highway department, they tend to make their expenditures in May, because that's when it's nicer weather. So that's when they do their paving or their type of work. So I think, I have a sign that says this in my office, there's a story behind the numbers. I mean, you could look at the salaries and you're looking at 50% because we're halfway through the year for some, but others are, stipends and they're, it would pay out. So it's not, you have to understand the budget, I guess, to understand what that means. And on the school side, we're 85%, what are you, 85% salary on the school side? Yeah.
And I think, to me, when I think key performance indicators too, I like the idea. I'm not disputing, what you said, Phil. Because key performance indicators are very helpful when you're trying to analyze numbers and you're trying to kind of, like you say, put benchmarks into place. The trouble with them is if you're using key performance indicators in a vacuum, and what I mean by that is when we're looking at the budget, we're looking at 1 year. If we're looking at trending issues, absolutely, and you say, okay, an ambulance, how many ambulance rides did we take a patient to the hospital, and then what's the average billing for that versus what's that average ambulance ride costing us? So what do you pay for the ambulances, what do you pay for the salaries, what's your cost versus your revenue comparison there? Those pieces of information are useful and definitely helpful to, as you say, Gene, to tell the story behind the numbers. What I think is tough, though, and I get back to like what I said, when we're looking at the numbers in somewhat of a vacuum, if you're reporting on it on a monthly basis, to financial people like us, it makes perfect sense, and even to non-financial people, it makes perfect sense. When we're looking at it from an annual budget perspective, and I know we're trying to do more of that trending analysis of looking back, 5 years or 4 years back in the rearview mirror to see this is where we once were, this is where we're at today. So to have those benchmarks where you can compare, okay, that ambulance ride costs, $500 per trip to UMass. Now, maybe it costs you $1,200 for a trip to UMass on average. So you can kind of build that. So I think, it's helpful and it's useful if it's coupled with the right analysis. So you got to be able to, like I say, provide a trend analysis, not just one snapshot in time.
Yeah.
Because if you just look at this year's budget and you say, okay, our police budget is X amount of dollars, and that means we're going to have, 5,000 encounters with the general public. What does that mean? Is that higher or lower than what it was last year, and where do we think that trend's going to take us next year?
But I don't even know that that's a fair statement either, because, for the ambulance, you may not have any calls. So the cost,
True.
So you're funding 24 hours
True.
now. Now you compare that to like 3-4 years ago. What we go from 15 hours and then we went to a 24 and then we went to a, so.
It's an
now
apples
you
and
have
orange
to-
comparison at that point. Right, so now there's a story even behind that you
Right.
have to explain, and you can't just go by the key performance indicators alone. You're absolutely right.
And part of the ambulance and the police is, for me, it's an insurance policy that I know if I pick up that phone, someone's going to be at the other end. It doesn't mean they're actually out on a call or issuing a ticket or at a, part of it is that they're available for me if I need them. So, and even on the revenue side, if you look at estimated receipts, you have to know that the biggest commitment comes in February. That's when your motor vehicle, that huge commitment goes out. So if you looked at, through December, you say, oh, you budgeted over $1 million, you've only collected 500,000, throwing out numbers here that mean nothing. It's because we don't send out that big commit until February. So you have to, and I'm fine telling those stories, but you have to hear the stories. It's not, unlike state aid, which comes in on a monthly basis, so you're getting 1/12 each month. When it comes to, the larger pieces like motor vehicle or real estate and personal property taxes, where, real estate are due quarterly. So, you're not getting the same, and like I said, the biggest commitment on the estimated receipts is the motor vehicle, and the big commitment goes out in February. So, January, February timeline. So there's a lot behind it. Like I said, I don't mind the questions. I think some of those, maybe we provide a little more of that dialogue when the departments come in. For instance, the ambulance runs. How did we compare in runs versus last year?
Right.
Then we get back to COVID, right?
Yeah.
So
And the
that-
wheels fall off.
Yeah,
And all the
so-
numbers go out the window.
Yeah. You know, and how much of that was
Yeah, well,
funded by something
I
other
have the
than...
answers, that, you know what, I'm just a big fan of transparency, and, you know, people probably don't watch any of our meetings, and it's because we kind of delve into sure of the inside story. We typically never give them any information that this, except for someone who's the authority, like I said, so.
I am also a big fan of transparency, and I think a lot of the information, and it is a
That's all.
year behind,
Transparent.
but is the town report. You know, that tells, we're in the process of producing the FY21, it is behind, but, you know, that is a big source of information, both, you know, for it's that snapshot for that 1 year. And we do try to, you know, provide as much information to you so that you can make your decisions when we come here.
So Phil, I think part of what we've been doing anyway, when we talk to the department heads, is we do have, a part of our discussion is to ask them about long-term trends too. That's usually, I think, a question that comes up. So if we just remember to keep doing that, that will go somewhat toward, I think, your concerns, that's for sure. So.
I think capital and COVID, I mean, those two major events over the last year and a half. COVID is huge. You know, even looking at the trends in the departments, part of that is not truly reflected just in the general fund, because you funded a second ambulance for a number of months that was not paid from the general fund money. It was paid from COVID. It was the CARES Act.
Yeah.
So you're not even seeing, you know, the appropriation in that, or the expenses that are associated with COVID. You know, we paid for testing, and even on the school side, what are you, on your third ESSER grant, plus other COVID grants that you received? It really affected a number, you know, just, you know, personally as well. But on the financial side, you're not seeing, you can't compare FY21 to FY18 anymore.
No, you've got to carve those pieces out. The CARES Act has to be carved out and not used in your comparison. So there's a lot of those kind of, here's where we are now, here's where we were then, but here's where we are now, and then you have to subtract this, that, and the other thing to really get that apples and apples comparison. You know, I see the same thing where I work, that, you know, the year-over-year analysis is just, I threw it out the window, because you can't,
It's hard.
it's tough to really say, well, this is where we're performing better at, and this is why, because you've got, you know, a lot of this other funding is kind of all interwoven itself. And you would think, okay, well, it's only going to sit in this one department. It's not going to impact throughout the entire whole of the organization. But like you said, there's so many different grant opportunities out there that agencies, you know, and I'm sure the town has done the same thing. You go after where the funding can be got. And
I think the biggest strides that we've made is in the capital, the fact that we were able to fund capital, you know, and you've seen that trend go up. And even, you know, the town's been fortunate to have Bob and Eric and Matt, and, you know, they worked on, and Bob Sullivan, you know, on the Mass Works grant and those types of grants, which are going to help fund, you know, fund some pretty serious projects. So there are a lot of good discussions that have to be held, but it's harder to, I think it's harder to compare 1 year to a prior year or to the next year anymore. It just makes it more difficult with COVID.
Heather, can you read the text on the screen out loud, please?
Sure, let me just get to it. Develop a few key performance indicators to communicate to the audience.
Okay.
It's from Phil.
Okay, anybody else comments at this point? So these are all good points, and we're so noting them, that's for sure. Anybody else? Jean, anything for us? All right, I think we are ready to adjourn then, unless we have any other issues.
We'll try to, you're going to send out the email?
So tomorrow I'll send an email out to everybody just to double check a week from tonight to see if we can meet, and then I'll let you know. So, Mike, want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second,
All right, I think that was you, Heather, wasn't it?
yes.
All right. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Walensky, aye.
Oh, roll call, yeah. Okay.
Have a more night.
Amy Piper's aye.
Sorry, Sandy. Sorry, Sandy. Phil Landry, aye.
Michael Hudnak, aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.